Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Free Space Podcast, where we'll be keeping it sassy and straight with Black Butterfly. Here at Free Space, we are geared towards no judgment and discussing topics such as mental health, sexuality, self awareness, and other related topics. Feel free to support this podcast with a small donation to help sustain future episodes. Please don't be afraid to reach out to someone you trust or a professional if you experience any mental triggers. Listening discretion is advised. Alright, so we're just going to go ahead and jump right into it. So today's topic is going to be about coming out. So pretty much coming out, being alone, and scared basically at the same time. So for me, coming out wasn't really like your typical coming out stage. It was pretty much I really felt alone and scared. I will say I wasn't like outed by anybody or like no one really like snitched on me. I didn't go through anything like kind of traumatic, like, being kicked out or anything like that. But, going through it alone and scared was just as traumatic as any other traumatic experience could be for anybody, but everybody is different. So, for me, I realized, basically who I was as a human at a young age, but I was scared to really admit that to myself and to like other people because I was scared I was gonna be judged and like looked at differently. But it was a journey. So being a minority and also being gay, that's a lot to deal with. So like if you can relate to being, basically a minority as well, you gotta know where I'm coming from with this. It's a different atmosphere. But if not, it is still a very different thing to go through as any other human would. But my story of like coming out, as I said, it wasn't me being outed by anybody or feeling like, oh, I'm gonna tell your mom or oh, I'm gonna tell your dad. It was more so me trying to find like my self-awareness and be like, okay, this is who I am, but I'm scared to let anybody know. So just a little backstory. I was that child that did play with dolls. But I play with them like any other, I guess, kid would. But I realized that I was more concerned with like having more girl dolls than like boy and girl dolls. Like I just felt more like I love the look of a female and like, the comfort and just the bond that two females have with each other. And it just felt safe. It felt comforting. It felt normal for me. But nowadays, what is normal? You can't really define normal anymore. But to me, that was my normal, and it is my normal, and that will forever be my normal. Of course, in today's time, I am very comfortable with that. But growing up, I wasn't. I felt alone and I felt scared, going through something, already having a traumatic childhood and then, trying to go through like those developmental stages of like, okay, here's puberty, here's figuring out my sexuality, here's figuring out myself, here's figuring out everybody else around me. Like, so much to like go through in my head. So it was a different time. And, not everything is like something you experience or would expect to happen to you, but it does. And it's like, who would have ever thought like that you would come out alone and scared? And honestly, looking back, I wish I didn't have to go through that, but I'm grateful for me at least, that I did go through that. I did go through it, alone, because sometimes those outside opinions, if you know what I mean, those outside opinions and, telling everybody, then having them all in your ear, like, if you can relate to how that makes you feel and they can, like, kind of dictate your own judgment that you have about yourself, then you know where I'm coming from with this. But in a general aspect, it can be difficult, listening to other people and then like trying to figure out yourself, and then it's like you went back and forth. It's like, okay, so they feel this way, but I feel that way, and it's like, is it okay? Is it not okay? Like, I don't know. So like I just went through all like throughout school, like, okay, so it was those other voices, those other people I would talk to, and it was like their opinions kind of overshadowed like my true emotions. So it got to a point where I was just like, you know what, since everyone feels this way, I'm going to start acting this way, because that's what they feel like is like appropriate for me and XYZ. So, I was like, okay, well, I'll start, liking guys just because everyone was like, well, you're so pretty and da 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 da. I'm just like, okay, I guess. So, it got to a point where I was starting to do things for the satisfaction of others. But, when I would be home and, it would just be me by myself, it was just like, that's where I really felt like myself fully, like with no judgment, no outside opinions or anything. Like, I felt like me. But it was like, as soon as I left my room, it was just like I had to put like on like this mask, like be like this different person that was like, people knew who I was, but they didn't know who I was at the same token, and like, if you can relate to being basically, in so many words, basically two-faced to yourself, then you kind of know where I'm coming from with this, and like I said, coming from a minority group, like that was just one thing by itself. That was like just one thing by itself. That's just like, okay, I'm already a minority, and I'm a mixed minority at that. So being two minorities and being gay, like, that's a lot. That is a lot for, one person to go through, but it's not something that no one can handle, That's how I see it, rather. But I will say that, when it came time, when I felt comfortable, like, okay, it's time for me to basically come out the closet, I was just like, I was still on the fence with myself, with my own self. Like, I was literally battling myself and going through, this journey basically in my life. So as I, continued to grow, went through middle school, those basically outsider opinions was still coming around, still going through my head, and I still kept like this two-faced like persona about myself with myself. No one else knew, but I knew. So, and then going through high school, it was just like still there, but it was like slowly starting to drift away, where I was just like, you know what, I can't keep lying to myself. I can't keep feeling this way, like, it's not fair. At the end of the day, it's like, who's really gonna care at the end of the day, and that's what it came to. It's like, who's really gonna care? Who's really gonna, accept me for who I am and not, try to judge me based off of, society and, other morals or values or things of that nature. Like, it's, the world is crazy. And it's like, coming out is not easy. And for those, like I said, mine wasn't like, very traumatic. And honestly, my heart really does go out to those that, go through traumatic experiences with them coming out, because, it's hard out here for anybody, no matter what race or gender or sexual orientation you are. Life is hard, and coming out shouldn't have to be one of those things that is hard. You shouldn't have to, fight with yourself of like, okay, I'm this way. Is the world going to accept me? Is my parents going to accept me? Am I going to get kicked out? Like, is something going to happen to me? Like, you shouldn't have to go through that. And, I feel for people that do. And, if you ever feel like you have to, feel that way or have to go through something as hard as that, just know you're not alone. You're not alone. And there's always someone that you can talk to, like find a trusted friend or, a counselor or a teacher or someone that you can confide into, basically. Someone that you feel comfortable talking to and saying, hey, it's something that I want to, be comfortable with myself, but also want to, be comfortable with sharing that with the world, whether they accept me or not. But at the end of the day, it all takes, having that self-love for yourself, before, coming out to the world. Because not saying that society, opinions matter, but you have to be mentally prepared for what is going to come your way, whether it's directly by people or indirectly, from what you see from social media, from what friends say around you, what family says around you. Like, you just gotta be prepared for those things, But back to my story. So high school comes and, things are just not what I'm like hoping for. Like, it's just, I don't know. It just really wasn't going very happy for me. And, one day, like I said, I wasn't outed by anybody. No one like threatened to like, snitch on me or anything like that. But, it was a day where, like, I was just like, okay, well, I guess I'll just tell my mom, hey, where I messed up at is I kind of halfway told the truth in the beginning. And, I was like, hey, I'm bisexual, kind of conversation, and she was just like, the way she took it was just like, like, okay. It was just very just bland. And like, I took that like, yeah, that's an okay response. But at the same token, it was just like, it didn't feel very, I don't know. I wasn't expecting like confetti and balloons to fly out the sky, but in my head I was. But, in reality, like, I was just like, okay, it was like, she kind of took that, like, what I said, it was just like, okay, I kind of already knew, kind of waiting for you to say something kind of thing. Mother's intuition, as most moms like to say. If you know what I mean, you know. It was one of those instances. So, but I was like, I don't know, I was just expecting her to be more like, I don't know, happy, excited, I don't know, something, than just like, but yeah, so that's how I'll just say this. I came out twice, but the second time with more like confirmation, kind of, like, this is me. There is no in between. There's no, this is what it is. This is what it's gonna be. That's it. That's all. But when I did come out and I originally said, I'm bisexual, that I used that, to me, that was kind of like a safe haven for me though, and, like I said, if you know, trying to keep that safeguard for yourself, your mental space, your sanity, who you are as a person, you can relate, and that's what it was for me. It was just keeping that safety, for me, and keeping me safe, keeping me sane, and just knowing like, okay, I'm like, basically I'm halfway there, so I just went along with that, just kept moving forward with that. I was like, okay, well, she accepted that. But, I was just like, I just still didn't fully feel happy with myself, but I just rolled with it because I'm like, well, that's what I said. Why not? So, time goes by, continues to go by, and going more in towards, until like my college years, you know, that's when I started to fully, come out, but I did not come out to like family. I came out more towards like my friends. And honestly, I wish I would have had came out to them sooner, because they was like basically like my mom. They was like, girl, we already knew. We were just waiting for you to say something. Like, we saw how you be looking at X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, well, why y'all never said anything? And they was like, well, we didn't want to, make you feel uncomfortable or feel like we, didn't want to be friends with you anymore, this, that, and the third. And I was just like, okay, well, that's understandable. And, having those kind of supportive friends back then, at least for that, that goes a long way. And that brings me to my other point, having supportive friends as well, or at least a support system, is very helpful, especially when you're coming out. It's always good to have that kind of support there, like knowing that, okay, I'm coming out and I know I have this support, behind me. Like, if anybody says anything or tries to do anything, I have my support system to go to, be like, hey, X, Y, and Z said this, they want to do that, I don't know what to do, and they'll jump to the gun basically for you. And that's what I had, when I was coming out, and I'm grateful for that. And if I could thank those people every single day, I would, to a certain extent. But I do thank them though for, at least I was able to be comfortable with them, if anything, which helped me be more comfortable with myself. So I just, in college, I fully came out in college. I'll just say that. I didn't use that safe haven at all for me. I was just like, I'm gay. The fuck. I'm gay. Hi, nice to meet you, kind of thing. Like, it wasn't like, I didn't like walk around like a flag every day, but if anyone did ask, I'm just like, yeah, I am. Or some people, like, they was able to tell, kind of thing. And I'm just like, I don't care. It's okay. So, but, that happened. Is like, once I felt more comfortable with myself, while I was in college, it was just like, it just came like second nature to me. So when I finally went home, one year, and it wasn't really a conversation yet again, now that I think about it, that I had, with my mom, but, that's when I told her, at this time, I had a girlfriend. So that was kind of basically how I told her, like, hey, I have a girlfriend, XYZ, blah, blah, blah. This is what she's like, this, that, and the third, all that good stuff. And, it was just like, I don't know, the same response. And, that brings me to, like, the main topic of this podcast, of me saying, me coming out alone and scared. Yeah, I did have, my support system, but at the same token, I still felt alone and, and scared. And I only felt scared in the sense of that it was just like, okay, yeah, I have my friends that support me, but it was just like that scary factor of like, my mom knowing, well, my parents rather knowing, and how that would go, and with my family and stuff, and then with feeling alone about it, it's just like, at the end of the day, like, these are my feelings, this is, my life, and it just felt like something that I went through more alone than with others, because with others, that was only, when it was brought up, or there was a conversation about anything, which was not often. So I still felt alone with, my own thoughts. And, that's when I started journaling. So my advice to those that, maybe you haven't came out yet, or, you're trying to help someone that may be going through a similar, situation that I went through. One advice I would give is have them write their feelings down, have them journal. Because best thing I can say about it, as long as you're getting it out in a way that is not harming others or yourself, it's always a good, positive, growth for yourself. And that's what I did. I would start, writing my feelings down. Or me, I like writing and I like music. So I would listen to things that, kind of related to my life, but was like really upbeat with the music itself, like the instrumentals. I would listen to things like that would kind of keep me going, not make me feel like I wanted to give up or anything. But I would also like write my feelings down, be like, okay, this is how I'm feeling today. Even if I wasn't telling anybody, it just felt good to write it down, and I can see that, okay, my feelings that I have in my head and I have in my heart, it is on this piece of paper. And sometimes I would just crumble it up and throw it away. Honestly, I really, really would. And that was okay with me. I was okay with doing that. And, if that's something that works for you as well, then you do that. You absolutely do that, because you do what works for you. You do what makes you happy, because no one can make you happy but yourself. So, with that being said, just my advice, to anybody, boy, girl, transgender, pansexual, whatever, you are loved, and I send all of my love to all of you beautiful people. And, don't be afraid to be who you are. As long as you continue to grow and build your self-love and your self-worth, then that's all that matters. And not every day is going to be a good day. It's not. You're going to have bad days, but it's all about, how you take those bad days and you turn them around into something, really good. And for me, I did. I had a lot of those, those bad days where I'm just like, this is not going anywhere. Like, no one loves me. No one's going to accept me. I'm going to be in this world all by myself. And I don't know where I'm going to go from here. Like, I was just out of control with my own feelings. And, and then there were days where I'm just like, okay, I'm me. I'm a bad bitch. I'm going to be who I want to be. And that's on period. Literally. And, that's me in literally present day. Pretty much. I am very happy with who I am. I am, I'm proud. I am very proud to be my beautiful rainbow self, and I can give two fucks about how anyone else feels about it. If you don't like it, then you don't like it. If you do, well, I love you too. And if you don't, I still love you, because I am the type of person that I love people regardless, whether they like me or not. And that's just that. So, I hope I leave a positive message, for everyone. Don't feel afraid to come out. Don't ever feel like you have to be pressured to come out, because you come out when you're ready to come out. Just like, when you were in your mother's womb. The doctors say, oh, the baby's going to come XYZ day. But you chose the day that you came out into this world and made your debut, which means you choose your day when you want to come out to the world and be like, bitch, I'm here. Take it or leave it. If not, that's okay too. And you just keep it pushing. And that's okay. Because Black Butterfly loves you. And whether the world tells you or not, the world loves you too. But at the end of the day, you have to love yourself first. and then everyone else falls in line because you are a baddie in all of your colors and you're awesome. So, ending this podcast for the day. I hope you had enhanced a beautiful message and you will pass this along to anyone that you feel like, should have a listening ear for it, or even for yourself. I want to be something that is a message to, to the listeners and to others around them that they, share this with. And with that being said, like I said, we are keeping it sassy and straight with Black Butterfly, and you have reached the Free Space Podcast. Until next time, everybody, bye.